Never before has gambling been so heavily promoted and accessible, especially through sport. This makes it feel like a normal part of the game and harder for students to recognise the potential harm. We want students to love the game, not the odds. The School Education Program is here to support you, to help your students develop healthy and informed attitudes to gambling as they approach adulthood. This instruction video and the unit it explains forms part of a wider suite of resources and tools to assist you and your school tackle this important wellbeing issue. This video supports the Knowing When It's a Concern unit of work, which can be downloaded from our website. It's really flexible. You can deliver it as one discrete unit or pick and modify tasks to suit your students' needs. For optimal results, we'd suggest sticking with the recommended terminology and learning outcomes. The primary learning intention of this unit is to understand that seeking help is normal and easy to do. Students will organise an activity to raise awareness of when gambling may be becoming a concern and the support services available. The tasks and rubrics included enable students to meet competencies from the VCAL personal development skills at intermediate and senior level. Students will have the opportunity to provide evidence of completing these competencies to the agreed standard.
This unit of work was engaging for the students. It's all linked directly to the VCAL outcomes, and basically it's all just at your fingertips. It's a one-stop shop and very easy for teachers to pick up and run with it.
In the appendix, there is a list of definitions you can familiarise yourself with. This unit includes some online research, so before you start, make sure students have internet access. Like any potentially sensitive topic, we'd recommend you and your class set some ground rules together to promote a safe learning space, covering things like how to fairly and respectfully participate in class discussions, what's appropriate to disclose in the classroom, and what students can do if they feel uncomfortable. When discussing gambling with students, be mindful not to give the impression that betting underage is normal. The tuning in section of the learning sequence should take around 30 minutes. Start by activating your students' prior knowledge about types of gambling, the risks involved, and the places where they see advertising. The activities suggested on page 9 are just examples you can use. You might have an alternate activity in mind. When discussing types of gambling, try to avoid mentioning specific brand names, as this may inadvertently promote the company in question. Instead, think about different categories, like sports betting, lotteries, and pokies. When broaching the concept of risk, be mindful that often students are of the opinion they won't run into serious trouble. Try to focus on short-term harms, such as being unable to purchase items they want. This will help students recognise the trade-off between spending money on gambling and being able to afford the things they value, such as having the means to go out with mates or the latest smartphone. While teaching this unit, try to replace the term gambling with betting, as students tend to relate to this better. Explain to students that these two terms can be used interchangeably. The next section will take about an hour. Students will design and use a survey to investigate how much their classmates know about gambling and the risks involved. See Appendix 2 for tips on developing surveys. The investigation in this section will also take about an hour. Through relevant case studies, students will learn to recognise when gambling is becoming a concern and the support services available. For this activity, students will need a computer with speakers and internet access. Provide students with the handout on Appendix 3, page 15, so they can record some of the learnings and thinking. If you're teaching a senior VCAL class, note that there are specific questions included. Drawing on knowledge gained from the previous tasks, students will work in small groups to design a 10-minute activity to raise awareness amongst their peers about when gambling may be becoming a concern and the support services available. This section can take 2 or more hours, depending on your students' needs and time available. In introducing this task, make sure to provide students with a copy of all the documents listed on page 11. These are located in the appendix of this unit. Discuss the stigma people experiencing harm from gambling might feel and how this may discourage them from seeking help. Suggest to students that being mindful of stigma may increase the effectiveness of the activity. One way they can do this is to avoid using the word problem and instead use phrases like becoming concerned. or experiencing significant harm from gambling. When students are planning their activity and considering their key content and learning goals, they should also include a point about the importance of seeking help sooner rather than later. Talk to your class about when this would be important. The stages within the planning template are mapped directly to the PDS competencies. Ask students to use this template to guide them through the process of developing their activity. Encourage them to think about how to spark their audience's interests, but to avoid using gambling games to do this. If students are presenting in front of their classmates, they may like to complete a peer assessment for one another. Questions included in the student's self-evaluation and assessment record from page 25 can be used for peer assessment as well, but make sure the class knows how this will work before they begin planning and presenting their activity. There's also a place to note your feedback. That concludes our instruction video for this unit. If, while completing this, you become concerned that gambling may be an issue for one of your students or their family and friends, you can refer them to our free and confidential Gamblers Health Youthline support service. They can call 1-800-262-376 or visit gamblershelp.com.au/youthline. You can also contact this service for advice and support. We'd encourage you to let your school's wellbeing staff know that you're undertaking this unit, and be aware of who to inform if you become concerned. For more information, visit our Love the Game website.